Boris Johnson delivers a strong criticism of Putin's imperial ambitions. In this review, we break down his powerful message and what it means for Ukraine and the world. Watch now.
Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has always been known for his colourful language and sharp wit, but his recent remarks about Vladimir Putin and Russia have struck a particularly resonant chord in global politics. In an interview with the Baltic news outlet Delfi, Johnson used strong words to drive home his belief that Putin's imperial ambitions belong to the past. With his characteristic bluntness, Johnson declared,
"He needs to understand that Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, none of these countries are part of the Russian Imperium anymore, and nor is Ukraine. It's over, 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 over. No more empire, Vladimir, you excuse my language. Okay?"
The message, while controversial, highlights a significant issue in today's geopolitics, the clash between the modern world order and the archaic mindset of empire building. Johnson's remarks provide an opportunity to explore the historical context of empires, their relevance today, and why Putin's actions are seen as anachronistic and dangerous. Johnson's interview made an important historical comparison between the British Empire and the Russian Empire. He noted that while Britain once ruled over the largest empire in history, spanning 7 times the size of the Roman Empire, it has long since relinquished those ambitions. Britain has embraced its post-imperialist role, and Johnson emphasized the benefits of letting go of outdated notions of power, famously saying, "If you love someone, let them go." The decline of the British Empire was not a romanticized voluntary decision, as Johnson himself acknowledged. Instead, it was the result of 2 world wars, economic strain, and the realization that the costs of maintaining a global empire outweighed the benefits. By the mid-20th century, Britain chose to focus on fostering cooperative international relationships rather than clinging to its former colonies. This transformation, though painful, has allowed the UK to thrive as a modern democracy with global influence through soft power rather than territorial dominance. Russia, on the other hand, has struggled to reconcile its imperial past with its present status. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 was a seismic event that left many Russians yearning for the grandeur of their historical empire. Under Putin's leadership, this nostalgia has translated into a policy of revanchism, seeking to reclaim influence over former Soviet states like Ukraine, Georgia, and the Baltic nations. Johnson described Putin's attempts to reassert control over countries like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine as archaic and barbaric. In a world where cooperation, sovereignty, and mutual respect are increasingly emphasized, Putin's aggressive policies stand out as relics of a bygone era. Historically, empires expanded for resources, labor, and strategic advantages. Yet, in today's interconnected global economy, the need for territorial expansion has diminished. Russia, as Johnson pointed out, is already the largest country on Earth, encompassing vast natural resources, diverse climates, and enormous potential for development. The logical course of action would be for Russia to invest in its own underdeveloped regions, rather than seeking to dominate its neighbors. However, Putin's obsession with empire building stems not from necessity, but from a desire to rewrite history and restore what he perceives as Russia's rightful place in the world. This mindset has led to catastrophic decisions, such as the invasion of Ukraine in 2014 and again in 2022, resulting in immense human suffering and global instability. Johnson has been a vocal advocate for Ukraine, urging the international community to support the country in its fight against Russian aggression. In November, he called for a $500 billion loan to help Ukraine rebuild and proposed setting a clear timeline for its NATO membership. He argued that the invasion has turned Ukraine's NATO accession from a distant possibility into a moral and strategic necessity. Johnson's frustration with Putin's actions lies in their blatant disregard for international law and the sovereignty of nations. By annexing Crimea and launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia has violated the principles of self-determination and territorial integrity. These actions have not only isolated Russia diplomatically, but have also underscored the need for a united global response to prevent similar aggressions in the future. The contrasting trajectories of the British and Russian empires offer valuable lessons. Britain's ability to adapt to a post-imperial world has allowed it to maintain relevance and influence through diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. Russia, by clinging to imperial ambitions, risks further alienation and decline. Johnson's remarks also reflect a broader frustration with leaders who fail to recognize the inevitability of change. Empires that ignore the signs of decline often fall harder and faster, as history has shown repeatedly. Johnson himself drew parallels between his blunt language and the British Empire's leadership in its twilight years, acknowledging the pitfalls of denial and hubris. Putin's imperial dreams are not just a threat to Ukraine, but to global stability. His aggressive policies have forced NATO to bolster its defenses, particularly in Eastern Europe, and have reignited Cold War-era tensions. Johnson criticized NATO's earlier hesitation to grant Ukraine membership, arguing that the invasion has made such a move imperative. Yet, he also acknowledged the complexities of expanding the alliance during an ongoing conflict. Russia's actions have also exposed deep divisions within the international community. While countries like Germany and France initially hesitated to support Ukraine, fearing escalation, nations closer to the conflict, such as Poland and the Baltic states, have taken a more resolute stance. Johnson highlighted the importance of listening to those on the front lines of Russian aggression, as they have the most at stake in preserving peace and stability. In conclusion, Boris Johnson's outspoken remarks may have ruffled feathers, but they underscore an important truth. Imperial ambitions have no place in the modern world. His sharp rebuke of Putin is a reminder that leaders must adapt to changing times and prioritize the well-being of their people over outdated notions of power and prestige. As the world watches the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, Johnson's words serve as both a warning and a rallying cry. The international community must remain united in its support for Ukraine and firm in its rejection of imperialism. For Putin, the message is clear: no more empire, Vladimir. It's over, effing idiot. As the war in Ukraine continues, the devastation extends far beyond the battlefield. Landmines and unexploded ordnance are turning towns, fields and roads into deadly traps, leaving communities unable to rebuild or even return home safely. At International Action Alliance Ltd, a not-for-profit organization I founded earlier this year, we're committed to changing this. Our demining and contamination assessment project aims to clear these hidden dangers, restore safety, and help Ukraine recover from the scars of war. Your support can make a tangible difference. By contributing to our demining efforts, you'll help provide the tools, training, and expertise needed to clear landmines effectively and assess exposure to the present contaminants in war-affected regions. This isn't just about saving lives, it's about giving families the chance to reclaim their homes and farmers the opportunity to cultivate their land again. Together, we can ensure that Ukraine's future isn't overshadowed by the remnants of war. Let's stand with Ukraine. Please consider donating to our demining project and being part of the solution. Every contribution brings us closer to a safer, brighter future for Ukraine.